and at the last we can take question. So I just make the slide, but it's just simple so that anyone can easily understand, even if you don't have any background in cloud computing or analytics. I will try to explain in a way that everyone can understand. So let me share my screen. Okay. Can I share my screen or
Are you able to share it now? Try now.
okay, yeah, it
Okay.
was disabled. So okay, just give some time and I'll try again.
All right.
Uh, no. Okay, let me try again. No luck. I think it has been disabled.
Oh,
Or
let me
yeah,
see. I'll upload on screen. Share docs. Okay, try and share it.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh, no luck. Shall I join again and try?
You can try.
Yeah, no, I can do it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for that. But yeah, finally, I will just make a presentable view. So everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So just to give a quick introduction, my name is Nasir Arafat. I'm a Microsoft uh, certified data engineering associate, and I work with an energy company based out in Glasgow. Yeah, so we'll try to understand what is Azure Synapse Analytics. So before that, we'll take something about the cloud computing. So all the services where you can do some uh, processing or maybe some kind of internet-based service is like a cloud thing. And for example, even if you are using SharePoint, it's also a part of cloud. All you need is your credential and your internet, and that's how you store your data, you manage your file and all. So Azure Analytics Platform is also a platform as a service, so you don't need to install anything at your site. Everything is internet. Yeah, you can install some of the tool, maybe Synapse Studio to do all the data analytics things, but everything is like based out in cloud. And this is a unified analytics platform. When I say unified, like everything you can do within the Synapse itself, from bringing data from different sources, cleaning data, transforming data, and also if you have a very large amount of data, Synapse also handle that. So we have different technology within Synapse. I will come to that later. And then once you process your data, you clean your data, you can store it within the Synapse storage account. So Synapse provide different kind of storage based on your uses. And why I say uses, because the one most important thing about any cloud services is like it's like pay as you go model most of the time. So you have to be very careful what is your requirement, and because if you are not selecting the right component, then maybe you will end up paying a lot of money. So that's why I just wanted to explain this. And once you store your data, then end user can use that information in terms of reporting. So because Microsoft also, like Power BI is a part of Microsoft, so yeah, you have integration of uh, Power BI for reporting purpose. Also, if your data is something like, where you can build a machine learning model, so you have Azure machine learning integration also, and you can develop any machine learning algorithm or maybe AI use cases. And then also, because there is a lot of things going on related to data governance, where you have to define all the process and data inventory, and to monitor all the access control, um, user based control and everything. So you also have a data governance tool within Synapse. It's Purview, just like Informatica and any other data governance tool where you can manage everything. So in the left side, you can see, you can connect any data source with the Azure Synapse Analytics, whether it is a flat file, maybe some Excel file that is there on your system, or you can also bring data from different cloud services, maybe some Azure or maybe SharePoint. You can connect it using the link services. You have to provide all the credential and the endpoint, because one of the best feature of using any cloud services is like it will take care of all the security, whether it is cyber security or data security. And then even if you have any SaaS system, you can bring the data into Synapse. And uh, then another kind of data could be maybe unstructured data. So also like Synapse handle that if you have any unstructured data, whether it is some XML file, a JSON file, or maybe something like audio, video. So you can also store those kind of data within the Synapse Azure Data Lake storage. And then other set of data could be the streaming data, the live data, that is maybe very crucial, maybe the weather forecast or maybe Netflix streaming. So these kind of data can also be handled within the Synapse. So essentially, on the top level, what is Synapse is like it's providing you ETL solution, extract, transform, load, and then use it in terms of visualization or in terms of machine learning model. But there are different data storage accounts that is meant to be based on the type of the data. For example, if you are bringing any unstructured data and you don't want to use it, because in most of the company, in real scenario, you have a tons of data, millions of data, but you won't be using that data simultaneously. But you need to make secure and store that data, because even for the machine learning models, like it's not like you have some data, you can start building any model. You have to make sure whatever data is capturing is up to the mark. There is a data integrity, data quality, and everything. So for that, lot of company, what they do, they use a storage account. So in a storage account, you don't have to do any cleaning, any transformation. It's just lift and shift. What is the form of data, you can just bring that data as it is, and you just load into Azure Data Lake storage. And data lake support any kind of data. I just given you example of unstructured data, but even if the data is a structure and you are not going to use it, you can just dump it in the storage account, ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage. And why I am asking, I'm mentioning like you can copy the data as it is. The reason is then you don't have to pay, because if you are going to build a data warehouse solution, so data warehouse is like a kind of solution where the user can query uh, some complex data and they can get it as it is. For example, if you have to build a Power BI report or something like that, so in that case, you might use Oracle data warehouse or some other data warehouse where you can query your data and the data retrieve will be very fast. But in Azure Data Lake Storage, it won't be like that, because this is not a data warehouse solution. This is just to store the data. But for example, if down the line, if you want to use some of the data from the Azure Data Lake Storage, so in that case, you have to do some transformation, and then you have a SQL or data warehouse solution where you can copy the data and then you have to pay for that data set only. So that's how, like, cloud solution is designed. So it's like pay as you go. And then you can see there is a Apache Spark pool, because Synapse also provide big data solution. For example, if you have to process, terabyte of data, so it also works around parallel computing. So your nodes will be created. You can select, you can create your node. So I'll come to that how you can do that, because you have all the option within the Synapse itself. All you need is like your account, your subscription, and then you can start. So here you can also see I have added a link where you can access the Synapse environment. So you can just use it, and all you need is a Microsoft account and a subscription. And then you have a data explorer. So data explorer is just like how you monitor your data to ensure, like, if the data quality is up to the mark, if there is no data integrity issue and everything. So you can also explore your data. And then you have a data integration. Then you can manage your data based on the requirement. You can also monitor. For example, once you design the flow, because as I mentioned, Azure Synapse Analytics provide you end-to-end solution. So, for example, if you design a solution from accessing the data, transforming the data, and visualizing it in the Power BI or maybe in machine learning model in Azure, so you can monitor all the schedule if you have set up the auto schedule to run the pipeline. Uh, so you can do all the things within the monitor component, and then you can also define the security groups based on the roles, because obviously if you have a very crucial data, you need to make a silo so that no, the right person can access those data. So this is like this was the high level architecture. And once you log into this URL, as I mentioned in the previous slide, this is how your Synapse interface will look like. So you can see here will be your profile from Microsoft account, and then this would be your subscription name. So in the left side, you can see you have a home option. It's very much similar to Power BI or any BI tool if you have worked before. And then you have a data component, and then develop, integrate, monitor, and manage. And here you can see, like, it explains what Synapse actually do. It ingests the data, it will connect with your data sources, then you can explore and analyze your data, you can do transformation and everything within the Synapse itself, because it will also give you a capability of writing code. If you work on Python, you can use Pandas, PySpark, and all the notebook will be running within the Synapse instance only. And for that, you might need to be. It's very similar to the Jupyter notebook, or if you worked on the Google Colab, how these notebook works on the cloud instance. So here you can also configure your cloud instance based on the GPU requirement. For example, if you think your data is very complex and you have to write a lot of code, and it might take longer time, so you can increase your GPU node. You can select that. But again, everything is like pay as you go. So if, for example, if you are just using pandas and very small data source for your learning and all, then you can just select a small instance for the computation, and then you can run your notebook, right? And then once you store the data, transform the data, you can visualize the Power BI, because you also have an integration of Power BI. So when it comes to data, how you connect with the data is you can either create a workspace within the Synapse, and you can bring data using the integration method. Or if the data is coming from different sources, maybe the data is stored in some um, SQL or Oracle, or maybe in data Azure Data Lake storage. So you can um, create a link service to connect your data source to the Synapse, and then you can copy the data into the Azure Data Lake storage, and then you can load it into the SQL pool. and then you can proceed. So I will come to that step in the later slides. So that was like how you explore and connect the data, and then you have a develop component. So develop components will give you options of selecting notebook or SQL script. So it's also very interesting thing within the Synapse. For example, if you want to do some part in Python, you can write the code. But for example, if you think something can be done easily in SQL, so you can also continue with the SQL within the same flow for the same data. So you have a more democracy option to select, uh, and then uh, you have a canvas. So it also provide you low code environment. So you can select integrate, and it will be a drag and drop kind of thing. For example, if you have to copy the data from one storage to the another one, then you don't have to write a script. You can do by the script also, but even you have a available components, you can just select it. You can configure your data source and the sink where your data will be copied, and then you can create a flow kind of thing that will take care of all the things. You can also attach different notebooks within that flow. And monitor option, as I explained before, for example, if something fails in the pipeline, for example, if you develop some solution in twin, and if something fails, then it will give you a warning. And also you can go and check how much instance is consuming, your Synapse is consuming. So it's better to monitor. It's mostly for the admin, but also for the developer. They can see how everything is to optimize the notebook or pipeline. And as I said before, for the data, that if your data is coming from different sources, then you have to create a link service. So link service option, you can get it from manage. So if you click on manage, you can create different link services. You can also create different pools to run your notebooks. And once you create the pool, you can open the notebook and you can attach that notebook to the pool that you have created. So who uses Synapse? So it's not like, even if you are a business data analyst or business intelligence, or even you do report in Power BI, you even you can use Synapse Analytics, because it's not necessary that you have to be from AI ML background or data scientist or data engineer, because even there is a concept of citizen data scientist, data consumer. So it's very easy to use, and it's very user friendly, and it's also provide you the capabilities of uh, design mode, where you can do low code things, like, so you can use it for the artificial intelligence, for data warehouse solution, even for the big data analytics, for reporting purpose, and for developing any machine learning models. So in the previous slide, as so you have a component of data. So if you click on this component, how it will look like. So here you can see you can get two options. One is the workspace, another one is the link service, right? So the work space is like, if you already configured something within the Synapse, you can see. And also it comes with some preloaded data. For example, if you want to explore for your learning curve and everything, so you can get some of the CSV data, yeah, that you can explore. For the link service, you need to first create your link. For example, if my data is coming from Oracle or maybe some server. Uh, so what I will do, I will create a link service. I will provide the credential and link of the data source. And once it will validate, then I can see it here, and then I can integrate it within the link service. And then I can proceed further. If I want to copy the data into some account, storage account, or if I have to build some model or reporting, so I can carry on, right? And same for the notebook. If you click on the notebook, you can get an option of like whether you want to create a Python notebook or a SQL script. So you can get that option. and then you can proceed. If you are creating a Python notebook, then you also have to create the instance, compute instance based on your requirement. For example, if you just want to explore some maybe COVID data, uh, just assume it's like a preloaded data. So for that, you need a very basic instance, and you can go here. You have an option of creating a PySpark pool, and once you configure, and you can open a new notebook. And in the notebook itself, you can see there is an option, and by default, it will show in the drop down list to attach it, uh, with the pool you created. So, as I was telling you, for example, once you ingest the data into Synapse, either you can write a code to proceed further. But for basic thing, I think it's easy. The easiest way is to use the built-in components that is already present with the integrate option. For example, you can see your data is there and you just want to copy the data, so you can drag and drop in the canvas and you can just configure. If you double click here, you can see you have to pass the source of your data, the source of the data which is already in Synapse, and then where you want to copy that data. Yeah, so you can see this is like copying the data, and this is like a Synapse notebook kind of thing where you can uh, transform the data, or so you can attach everything, and you can put it in a chronological order, so that once you run it, whether you run it like manually, or you can also set up trigger. For example, if I want to run this every Monday, or maybe in every 4 hour or daily at 9 a.m., so I can select everything within the manage option, and I can also see how it is working. If something is failing, I can get to know using the monitor component. So this is very basic example of copying that data as it is, and then you can do a lot of things. You have other components to transform data, to delete some file. So everything you can get into in this component, uh, the integrate component. And then you have a monitor, as I said, you, for example, if you created a pipeline flow for end-to-end solution, but if something is failing, you can see it in monitor. It will give you all the logs and all the reason, so that you can work and you can fix some of the issues, right? Yeah, so as I explained before, but it's good to have a visual of the notebook component for develop. So here you can see you have both the option. You have a notebook, Python notebook. You also have a SQL script to write, and then within the develop itself, if you have a Power BI license, you can also integrate with the Power BI, and the Power BI itself open within this Synapse only. So you don't have to go to the Power BI service site, and you can just publish. If you have a premium workspace to share it with the larger audience, you can just publish the report within itself. You can share the report. So, and Power BI also you can connect in the flow, so that every time when your pipeline trigger, it will update the dashboard whenever a new data comes, or if there is any update. Just to make the latest uh, insight to help them in business decision making. Right? And these are the some examples of the different pipelines that is present within the integrate option. So you can see this is like for transforming data. So you can name it, you can save it. So if you click on it, you can see like it will expand in the canvas and it will look like this. And because as I told you, Azure Analytics is like unified analytics. So before Azure Analytics, there were different components. For example, if you have to work on data ingestion and data processing, so there was something called Azure Data Factory. Just like you have a Power BI also, you have a Power BI service separately, but you can also see Power BI within the Synapse itself. So just like you also you have a Azure Data Factory, but Azure Data Factory is already integrated with the Azure Synapse, so you don't have to go outside of the platform. And if you have any experience with the Azure Data Factory before, it just work like that because everything is very same. So here an example of how you load you know file into the Azure Data Lake SQL pool. As I told you in the beginning of the presentation that Azure Data Lake Storage is just like a data lake solution where you won't be connecting directly. For example, if you move some data into the Azure Data Lake Storage and you have to build a Power BI report or maybe machine learning model, you don't directly connect your Power BI or Azure ML with the Azure Data Lake Storage, because then the query will be very bad. It will take a lot of time to process the data. So the best solution is to make a data warehouse solution so that the query should be the faster, because it will index your data into some schema, maybe star schema, or based on your requirement. So what you do, uh, if for example if you have a YouTube data which is having very basic columns like rank, grade, channel name, video uploads, subscriber, video view. So you can find this data, in internets and available on Kaggle and a lot of open sites. So first thing you need to do is you need to go to the SQL pool in the previous slide. Yeah. So you can see you have a SQL notebook. Once you open the SQL notebook, you need to design the schema first because the SQL pool don't know, how the data should get stored. So you need to define the schema, the table name, and also the data type. And then once you create the schema, then you can just write a query to pull all the data into the, SQL pool. So here also you can see you have to provide the data source name and also the credential and the format. That's how you load the data into the SQL pool. So I think it is clear, right? What is the difference between data lake storage and SQL pool? So data lake storage is just like to dump the data as it is for the purpose of just storing the data. And when you have a lot of data, but you don't know, like you don't need every data, uh, at the same time. Maybe you need to do some research to proceed with some of the data sets. So you can just lift and shift data as it is. And then if there is a requirement of some uh, you know um, reporting or machine learning things, or maybe very basic uh, data analysis, you can do the data warehousing, and then you can proceed with the Power BI or other visualization or machine learning. So as I told you, if you have to connect your data from external sources, then you can do it using the manage option. So within the manage option, you can see you have a link service. So if you click on that, you can see what are the link service that is already attached to your Synapse subscription. If not, then you can see there is an option called new. If you click on that, a window will open, and there you have to provide all the details of your data and your credential. And before saving it, you need to validate it, so you can check if everything is fine. And then once you create the link service, you can see here in the list, and then you can go to the you know data set of data components, and within the data components in the linked option, you can see that data has been added, and from there you can proceed uh, by copying data into the data lake and then further things like, sorry. So yeah, so SQL pool I told you. So we also have a Spark pool. Um, Today I'm not going to cover much on SQL pool. I will talk about the Python PySpark. But these are like if you are running any notebook, then you need to run it on the Sparkle. So here you can see Apache Spark application. If you have configured any of the application, you can see it here. This is like a monitor. Under monitor, you have everything. For example, you want to see how many pool you have created for SQL, you can click on this option. You can see it. Same for Apache pool. For example, if you want to check if you created a notebook, but you want to ensure whether you have to increase the computation power of your pool, or maybe if you want to upgrade it, so you can click here and you can do all the changes. Same for the pipeline. If you have created an end-to-end solution from ingestion of data to the processing to the visualization, so you can uh, check everything in that monitor option. Now I will come to the um, Synapse, why you should use PySpark. So before going to that, um, PySpark is very similar to Pandas because it's also a Python library. But Pandas is just used for one data frame, but PySpark is being used for very complex data because it works on distributed computing. So at the same time, you can select how many nodes you want. So it will reduce the complexity of the processing, and your query and processing will be very fast. And also most of the time, why people or any corporate companies or any even a startup, they use uh, these cloud services like Synapse or maybe AWS, because they also want a solution to the big data. If they have tons of data and also the data will be increasing, so obviously on-prem system is not a good option, because then every time they have to buy some hardware. But here it's very scalable. Even if your data is increasing, you can just increase your computation, increase your data source. You can select what component would be right for your data. So everything is like scalable, and also there is an option of auto scale. For example, if you are going on a holiday or maybe sabbatical, so you can just enable auto scaling and it will take care of that. So it will not affect any anything in the process. So for example, which kind of a use case will be handled by Synapse. So for example, just take a example of any big company. I don't want to take name of any company, but yeah. So if they have tons of data coming, whether it is in batches or in real time, so those kind of solution can be developed in Synapse, where uh, the leadership team can see the actual KPIs and all the insight in the real time. And obviously, if the data is coming across the globe, like so, it can't be handled by some on-prem data sources or other tools. So it has to be a very complex, a robust solution. So it has to be on the cloud. So as I mentioned, the traditional sources could not handle this kind of problem, and now everything is like online. We are generating tons of data, whether it is even take an example of a coffee shop. If you go to a coffee shop, they have a invoice, they have inventory of the coffee shop. They also take your payment card, and you know they have all type of data, even the feedback and others thing. If you are tapping loyalty card, so uh, just assume, like if you're working in a corporate, how much data it would be, whether it is an energy company or NHS or maybe some in another big corporate. So if they have a requirement of reporting or any machine learning thing, then it can't be handled by any integration, traditional uh, analytical tool. So it has to be a big data solution, and Synapse Analytics is one of them. So there are other tools as well. Like if you are using Google, then there is a BigQuery, and if you are working on Amazon side, then for AWS you have S3 for just dumping the data, just like a data lake solution. But if you want data warehouse solution in AWS, then they also have something similar to SQL Pool. So it's a Redshift. So I think all the cloud services are very similar, and they work on these, you know, parameters. So if we already have a pandas, then why PySpark? So as I mentioned, it works on distributed computing, and if you have a millions of data, so it can't be handled by pandas, and also um, even if you have like 10,000 of data, I don't think pandas can handle that data because if you are running something in cloud, then also you have to think about the distributed computing to make things faster. So it's always better to go for the PySpark, and I will also come to that, like in the later slide, uh, how much script is it. It's not too much, but uh, so these are the benefit of using PySpark. It can process a huge amount of data. It will, maintain the accuracy, data integrity. It will avoid any blocker or bottlenecks. So here is an example of a very basic example. As I mentioned about the YouTube data, so I just taken it from the internet. So this is just an example of how you visualize a CSV file in Pandas and the same file in PySpark. And just to let you know, even if you don't have a Synapse Analytics, you can still download PySpark in your system, and you can still work on your system. You can just install Python. You can use pip installer command. You can uh, just install the PySpark library, and you can still work on your system with some data set. You can try it out by yourself, and it's a good practice actually. If you have done something very similar in Pandas, you can try to replicate all those steps in PySpark. So here you can see, it's just using the libraries Pandas, and then it read the CSV file, and then it's print the data. So you can see it's like a very much clean data, and then there are like columns and rows, right? And if you have to do the same thing in PySpark, then first thing you need is like a PySpark library. And this is the syntax how you write from PySpark.sql import session, because PySpark, as I told you, it's distributed computing. So every time it will create a session, and if you're working on a big file, make sure you also have to close that session, and then you can define any data, and then this is the uh, script, like you run this within an app. You can give any name here, and then this is the actual syntax of reading the data. This one is just additional thing to run this uh, data within the app, and then you can select YouTube header, whether you want to keep it or not, and then you can just show it. So you can also see it's a bit different visualization. It's coming like more like some grid like a structure. So this is a very, very, very basic example of like how you visualize data in Pandas and PySpark. I have also added a couple of links at the last slide where you can just go and learn more documentation about PySpark. But I think you get the basic idea, like when to use what. And I find it very, very friendly when if I have to go back and learn PySpark. So the easiest way is, if you have done anything in Pandas, try to replicate that in PySpark step by step, and yeah, you will get it. It's not too much different, but this is very powerful, and I think this is the future of data processing. Yeah. So, so to summarize this, I'm not asking you can't use Pandas in Azure Synapse Analytics. You can use it, but if the data set is very small, use it. If the data set is large, go for PySpark. Right. That's a summary of this. And yeah, so it's the same thing as I mentioned before. If you have a lot of data coming from e-commerce sites, or maybe NHS or some big corporate, so you need to use PySpark rather than Pandas. if you just have a few columns of rows and all, just for the sake of learning, if you are using some CSV file, then use pandas. And if you are doing PySpark within Synapse, then it can handle a lot of complex analytical thing, because at the same time, Synapse is user friendly with lot of options like different data storage and other things like visualization, machine learning capabilities. At the same time, if you process the data using PySpark, it also gives you the big data capabilities to handle any source of data. The best example is, for example, if some political party has to run any political campaign, so they analyze what you say. Uh, I think you must have heard about the incident of Cambridge Analytica, but you have X now. There is a lot of things going people right, and if some company wants to analyze, or even X want to analyze the sentiment of particular demography, so they can use Synapse Analytics solution because the data is coming, a lot of data is coming, like, in real time. So they can do build a data warehouse solution, and from there they can extract the sentiments. So okay, try. So here are some examples, like if you want to give a try, so you can also try with the pandas. If you are using Azure Synapse Analytics for the first time, I will suggest you can use some of the data which is already preloaded with the Synapse, and then you can try to copy that data. I think data will be pretty much clear. You don't have to do a lot of transformation, and then uh, you can explore other components with the Synapse, and you can try to visualize any graphs in the um, Power BI. You can also use some library. You can also install some libraries within the Python Synapse notebook. For example, if you want to visualize in Matplotlib or some other Python library, you can also install it, maybe ggplot2 or something. And you can also visualize things within the notebook. It's pretty much similar to the Jupyter notebook, or as I told you, the Google Colab. So yeah, these are the link where you can learn more about, this is the documentation for Azure Synapse Analytics, and then there is some information about PySpark. And also there are a lot of information on internet. For example, if you have to do coding, if you have to migrate uh, your notebook from pandas to PySpark, so you can do that. There are a lot of material available. Yeah. So that's all, and I think, yeah, maybe can take some of the question.
Thank you very much, Nasir. What a wonderful presentation from you.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from that. And so it's time for questions. So um, if you have any question, just signify if you have any question.
Yeah.
Then I will be opening the chat platform as well, so you can
Yeah.
also send a chat if you have a question. Meanwhile, personally, I have a question. So I've learned a lot about the Azure Synapse Analytics platform. So it's a very holistic platform that can take data, inject data, handle transformation, either for big data or small data, then also visualize. So I want to ask a question. I know there are services on Azure platform like Azure Fabrics.
Yeah.
There's now Databricks integrated into the Azure platform. Personally, I've done a few projects on Azure Databricks myself, and it's
Yeah.
as if they all do big data transformation. So, what informed your choice of services for an ETL pipeline, for instance? So,
Yeah. So as I told you, Azure Synapse Analytics is a platform as a service. So Azure Synapse Analytics also get upgraded as a software as a service SaaS platform, and the evolution is Fabric. So
Okay.
Fabric is also very much similar to Synapse, but if you have an understanding of Synapse, you're gonna love the Fabric.
Oh, okay.
uh, Fabric is just like, you can even use within the Power BI service. So they have integrated everything. You can integrate the data, you can ingest the data, you can transform the data, you can create the different data pipeline, and then you can also write notebook within the um, Power BI, because if you have a Fabric license, you can use the Power BI within the notebook within the Power BI itself.
So are you saying they're all now intertwined and integrated with each other now?
Yeah, because it comes with the additional licenses. So,
Oh, okay.
uh, yeah, so because it's not like if you have a Power BI, you can use, yeah, you can use it for 1 month. But again, like if you have
Oh,
to do some real time or real life analytics, then obviously it's not feasible. But for learning, it's a good thing. Like, even you have a Power BI, you can use a try Fabric, and you're gonna love it, because if it's very very much user friendly. As I told you, it's just like a Power BI because it's a software as a service.
oh,
um, because Synapse is still like a platform as a service where you have to configure most of the things, but there, like, it's mostly very much user friendly.
okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I have a second question, but before I ask my second question, I want to give room for others to contribute. So if you have a question or a contribution to make, just signify. So I wouldn't know if you can unmute. Are you able to unmute?
Yeah. Oh, I think, um, let me check. Mm, Uh, no, I could not see.
Okay, why I try to figure that out. So
Yeah.
I have a second question, and it's that so for Databricks and platform, so it has Databricks job for like scheduling and orchestration. So for Synapse, does it have like a feature within it for scheduling or orchestration?
Yeah, yeah. So within Synapse also, you can do the orchestration, you can transform the data, you can do all the things related to orchestration. You can also see the lineage of the data flow.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I think there is some issue with unmuting the Mac, or
Okay, I can
yeah,
unmute myself now.
yeah.
All right,
So,
thank you. Nasir, thank you very much for your presentation. Uh, I had a question when you were with the interface you shared. Um, Synapse is platform as a service. So does that mean you are provided with the infrastructure, the compute infrastructure like, for compute infrastructure for you to run your data engineering workflow, then compared with Azure Fabric, which is software as a service, user friendly, and then comparing that with Azure Data Factory as well, because these three things, I think they work together for end-to-end data engineering workflow.
yeah.
So which specific case would you use each of them? So that's really my
So I
question.
think it depends, because Fabric also has been developed so that it's not going to, well, is going to change, and change is the only constant, right? So Fabric is designed in a way that even if someone is not from any analytical or data engineering background, if they can build a Power BI report just by using Canvas or using Power Query auto generator engine, they can do ETL process within the Fabric itself. But as you mentioned about the data, sorry,
Is it Data Factory?
yeah, sorry, yeah, Data Factory. So Data Factory is like, it has been already integrated with the Azure Synapse Analytics. So it's not much difference. But I think if you are a kind of a developer, or if you like the mix of drag and drop, like something you want to do by low code, but also you have some passion of learning some coding very basic. So in that case, you can use Azure Synapse Analytics, and people like who already work on the data factory and Snowflakes and other cloud platform, they find it more, even they find it more simple, but it's very liked by them. But yeah, but still, like Fabric is having some functionality which is very much limited. If your data is like very much easy and it's not too much complex, then you can just go forward and you can use it. Mostly for the at the consumer side of things, like they can use Fabric. But if you have to develop some solution, and if your data also required some big processing tasks, then I think it's Azure Synapse Analytics. But again, like it's not sure yet, because maybe like in the next version of Fabric, it might be more powerful than Synapse. So it's all about like evolution. uh,
Uh, all right, thank you very much. It's depending on the complexity of the
yeah,
project you want to do. So
right.
for a simple project, then Synapse would suffice or Fabric.
Yeah,
But if you really want to get hands-on to do the very complex coding and
yeah,
connecting different connections, then Data Factory and some complex part of Synapse.
yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
So okay.
Okay,
I think
so
thank you for joining.
is anyone that have any question? You can type it, or you can raise your hand, so we can unmute. Or if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so I have, if you want slide, I can share it with you, and you can find the documentation of Azure Synapse Analytics and PySpark on internet, and it's open source. So yeah, you can try. And even if you don't have a Azure Synapse Analytics, as I mentioned, you can install a Python. You can maybe install any IDE, maybe the Visual Studio Code or something. It's free to use, and you can install the library. You can explore it just like a Panda.
Okay. So thank you very much for that. So
And thank you. And yeah, I hope it was very high level, but I think it makes some sense. And yeah,
all right. Thank you very much, Nasir, for
thank
everything.
you and have a nice weekend.
Thank you for your session. So Precious, idea.
Yes, please. All right, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining the second meetup, the April meetup with PyData Glasgow. It was really nice to have this turnout here and stay through the technical talk. I know it's very technical and it was quite lengthy, but we've learned a lot. And thank you very much, Nasir, for the invitation, for honoring the invitation and for taking us through. I personally learned a lot, and everyone in the audience definitely learned something. So thank you very much. William Cornell, thank you. Confidence, thank you. Gab, thank you. Damola, thank you for being in attendance. So before we sign off, a closing remark, PyData Glasgow would be organizing a boot camp in May. So watch out for the invites and watch out for the location. It's a boot camp where hands-on workshops will be practically done for the 2 days boot camp. So we would actually send out invites and let everyone know the location and the time, but it's going to be in May. So thank you very much, everyone, and catch you on the next one.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Have a
Bye,
nice weekend.
everyone.
Bye.